couldn't stop reading it. I was like, you know what? Let me get some context so I know what I'm talking about the next day for Entertainment Buzz. Because I'm like, 179 pages is Looney Tunes.
I feel like you need a law degree now in order to do Entertainment Buzz.
I feel the exact same way, so much so that I had a conversation with an attorney last week because I was like, there's so many terms that I don't understand and I need you to define them for me because I can't afford law school. It's too much at this point. I can take a master class, I can watch something on YouTube, but at this point, like, we're going to be reading about the Diddy case for the next year. We're going to be reading about this case for who knows how long, that at this point, like, I have to go back to school.
Should the Bert Show have a lawyer on retainer for stuff like this?
No, just somebody really smart.
Okay.
or me. So Justin Baldoni is suing Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds for $400 million.
I want to know how he came up with that number.
Me too.
I mean, his legal team was probably like, how much can we rack out of them? I mean, the movie itself made $350 million. So I almost wonder if it's like that money plus just some little sprinkle in there. But he is suing for defamation and for extortion. And
extortion?
Extortion. This entire lawsuit, like, my jaw was on the ground. I felt like every paragraph, every news section was just like another piece, honestly, of hot gossip. Mm-hmm. I would have gone into law had I known that law was just gossip all day, where you're just talking about things that happen in people's lives. It is so... I mean, I hate to call this thing juicy because it started with Blake Lively suing Justin Baldoni for retaliation for allegedly sexually harassing her and then allegedly creating this whole smear campaign to retaliate against her for bringing those sexual harassment claims to him. And then he decided to sue the New York Times because allegedly they had been working with her, colluding with her to get this information out there so that like 12 hours before it went live, they could go to Justin Baldoni and be like, do you have a comment? And then he could be blindsided, not really have anything to say about it. And he was able to then file a lawsuit against them, basically saying like, that was really messed up, guys. And now I want money. So I can't even express to you how many notes I have about this. So I'll just go through everything I have and then hopefully some discussion will spur from here.
Well, I mean, listen, we can talk about this in every single Entertainment Buzz today because obviously this has like captured the nation and world's attention. So if you need to break it up, break it up.
Okay, the lore goes deep. And the first thing that had my jaw on the floor was that Blake Lively was starring in a movie called It Ends With Us. It's what this is all about.
Did you see the one accusation? Where he said
we're almost 3 minutes into this and she hasn't gotten to any of the new stuff yet.
I'm really bad at my job.
No, this is perfect. This is what friends are doing around their kitchen islands. He accused her of not even reading the book.
Okay, that is bullet point number 1.
Yeah.
And to me, because I posted this on my Instagram story last night and someone was like, well, that doesn't really bother me because for Game of Thrones, they didn't read the book. Do your job.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to be starring in a movie that is based on a book
about DV,
about domestic violence, and the book is 300 pages or like 400 pages, it's not like she had to read the entire Lord of the Rings series. It was a very enjoyable book with a little bit of romance in it that brought awareness to domestic violence that you're starring in. Read it. So that's what he's alleging. Mm-hmm. Apparently, she had so little information about the book that she had to Google what color the character, the hair color of the character, which is red, by the way. Justin also brought up the fact that he really wanted to raise money for a domestic violence organization through the proceeds of the film. Apparently, 1% of the proceeds was to go to an organization called NoMore.org. That was something he wanted from the beginning. And allegedly, according to this lawsuit, she refused to meet with the organization about a movie about domestic violence. I am so fired up about this because I just cannot wrap my mind around why anybody would think that this is okay.
But again, this is
alleged.
This is what he is saying. And if that movie made $350 million thus far,
$350 million,
and they just wanted 1% to go. That's so much.
This is also all alleged, just to. It's all alleged, and also it's coming out in these bulks. So there will absolutely be a response from Blake Lively. But the way PR works is you try to get ahead of it, and you throw so much that you have already altered your opinion before the other person ever gets a chance to respond, which is really what is happening here. However, that said, if I'm him and I am really in my heart feel like I'm innocent of everything, this is exactly the way I would handle it.
100%. And
there'll be receipts on that. Like if there were emails going back and forth about meeting with the, DV group and wow. Okay.
So here's what I actually want to talk about, because the main juice of Blake Lively's lawsuit is whether or not A, there was sexual harassment on the set of It Ends With Us, and B, was there retaliation. So let me touch on sexual harassment first, because she made claims that this happened on set, this happened on set, this happened while filming. Justin Baldoni's biggest claim in this lawsuit, in my opinion, is the fact that he, A, gave context to some of the things that she brought up in her lawsuit. But he's like, a lot of this is captured on film. Like, we were filming a movie. So when she says that I did this or said this, we have the clip of what's going on. So whether or not you believe Blake or whether or not you believe Justin Baldoni, when this eventually goes to court, a judge is going to see all of those clips and decide whether or not they felt like it was predatory behavior. So
yeah, because they keep it rolling as they're filming.
Yes. So one of them's lying. We're just going to get to see exactly which one. But Blake Lively's team is responding to all of this. So I will tell you what her team is saying in response to the lawsuit on your next eBuzz on the Bert Show. Back to that thing you're going to see all over your timelines today. It's the Justin Baldoni lawsuit against Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. He is suing them for $400 million for defamation and extortion. I got very emotional in the last break to where I just started listing out bullet points from the lawsuit. And I wanted to make sure that we tied it all together so it makes sense to you. So last night I read 179 pages. So all of this makes sense in my head, and now I realize I have to now lay it out on a platter for y'all. So we talked about in the first break during the 6 a.m. hour that I got very emotional that Blake Lively allegedly didn't read the book. She allegedly didn't meet with the domestic violence organization that Justin Baldoni wanted to get proceeds from the movie. And basically, all of that to say is they were trying to build a character resume, saying that in her lawsuit against him, she was trying to say that her public image was destroyed by him because of a PR campaign. Now, what he's trying to say with the claims that she didn't read the book and also that she didn't meet with the domestic violence organization was that she came off tone deaf because she didn't do the work behind the scenes. Like, a lot of their lawsuit is saying, yes, our PR team came to us saying we can do a smear campaign, but we didn't engage in it. We didn't have to do any work because the public came to their own conclusions because she didn't do the work, allegedly.
I get it. Had she read the book, had she met with the domestic violence nonprofit organization and agreed to have 1% of the movie sales go to them, had she done that when she did the press tour, she wouldn't have said things like, girls, put on your florals and grab your friends and go to the movie. Instead, she would have had a more somber tone like Justin did in his interviews. So honestly, it's not like, Justin shot her in the foot. She shot her own self in the foot by not doing the work.
And also that she had no business seizing control of this movie whatsoever.
Okay.
Now, I have to talk about the most cringy part of this entire lawsuit. When I saw the text message about this, I was literally like, this is so embarrassing for her if this is true and not doctored in any way. So Lively in the lawsuit, Justin Baldoni said that from the beginning, it was clear that she wanted to have some kind of control over this film. And she started talking to him about how she wanted a say in the script. And she came to him very emotional, saying on other films that I've worked on, I always kind of feel like I will make an edit, but then I never get credit for it. And she said, I really want to have my hand at writing the opening scene in this film. The opening scene is when the two love interests, Ryle and Lily, which are Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively's characters, meet. She said, can I just have the opportunity to write it? And he goes, sure, go ahead, write it. So she ends up allegedly writing the script for the opening scene. Justin reads it, goes over to their Tribeca apartment where Ryan Reynolds is also present. Obviously, Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively's husband. So while they're there, Ryan is telling Justin, isn't the scene so great? She did such a good job. I'm such a fan of it. And they talk about the scene. He kind of brings up some concerns saying that, we might meet in the middle somewhere. We might take some of my scene. We might take some of your scene. And as he's leaving, another mega superstar celebrity that happens to be a BFF of Blake Lively, people are assuming this is Taylor Swift, also kind of did the same thing and is praising Blake for the work that she did on that scene. So then in a text message, Blake, after receiving some criticism from Justin Baldoni about the scene, says, I know my husband and my BFF, Taylor Swift, are can be really tough stage moms, but I want to let you know that I'm kind of like Khaleesi from Game of Thrones. And if I have to use my dragons for good or for bad, like when it's for good, it's going to benefit someone like you. And this is all paraphrased. She's comparing herself to Khaleesi. And so she's just really diving in on this scene. Fast forward to when the movie gets released. She's on the red carpet and she volunteers information about that scene that nobody even asked her about. She said, oh, you know what nobody knows about this scene, the opening scene in the film? My husband, Ryan Reynolds, wrote it. What?
But she said she wrote it.
She said she wrote it.
Allegedly, she told Baldoni that she wrote it, and then Ryan and her famous celebrity BFF.
Yes.
So that's weird.
And what's even weirder is allegedly this all went down during the writers and actors strike, where nobody should have been writing. Everyone should have been standing in solidarity. So again, that is more fuel to the fire, basically saying this is how much control these Hollywood elites wanted to have over my film. And the reason why he's saying this is to show the lengths they would go to be able to seize control from his film that he created.
Okay, I have a big question here, and that is, after everything is said and done, the movie is out. Her character has taken a hit. His character has taken some whatever. When Blake decided to file that complaint, right, and really get this ball rolling of this, like, and then Justin, now the $400 million lawsuit, and now here's where we are. If you are Blake and Ryan Reynolds, before you submit this and put this out for everybody, do you not sit there and go through every single receipt, text, email to make sure your nose is clean in this? Because I find there's a certain level of delulu that you would go after Justin Baldoni, knowing all of this. Like, all of this can come out about you, and you're not going to come out smelling like roses.
So in the lawsuit, there's a section that basically kind of paints a picture of how delusional they may be. So they were all a part of an agency called William Morris Endeavor at one point. Justin Baldoni has since been dropped by William Morris Endeavor, allegedly because of Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds, being a part of the agency, allegedly went to like an agent or an exec, was like, you need to drop this guy. He's a sexual predator. And that's actually when Justin hired the PR crisis firm. Anyway, back to a conversation that Justin Baldoni and Jamie Heath, the lead producer, had with a WME exec. So they're on a call with this executive, and the executive brings up the fact that Ryan and Blake are really upset with their public image, saying like they really don't like what's happening. So here's what you guys need to do. We have a statement that we want you to sign off on that says that you guys had everything to do with any wrongdoing that happened on the set. And Jamie Heath and Justin Baldoni are like, well, we didn't do anything. We're not going to sign our names to all of these allegations. And they're alleging that executive basically was like, yeah, they kind of do this because they kind of think that they're untouchable. But, you know, we're siding with them because they're Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. So the whole thing just reeks of like these two Hollywood elites just kind of getting their way. And it really does feel like, in my opinion, Justin was the collateral damage from this. But there is one player that we have not talked about that I think is the reason that this entire lawsuit situation has happened to begin with. Nobody is bringing this woman up, and it's coming up on your next eBuzz on the Bert Show. There is one woman that nobody has really paid attention to in this feud between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni that I think people need to take a closer look at, because after reading the 179-page lawsuit that Justin Baldoni filed against Blake Lively, I feel like none of this would have happened if it wasn't for her. And I'm not talking about Blake Lively.
Colleen Hoover?
No, I'm talking about Justin Baldoni's former publicist, Stephanie Jones. Now, I want to make the distinction that this is not Melissa Nathan, who was the PR rep for Johnny Depp that everyone was talking about, that Justin Baldoni hired when he realized he needed somebody that was more fluent in crisis PR.
Was this after the New York Times article came out?
No, this is before. Okay. So this is happening in the summer. So let's backtrack to the summer between the end of production and the movie getting released. So this would have been almost a year ago. So Justin Baldoni was a client of Stephanie Jones. Now, Stephanie Jones has repped Tom Brady, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson at one point, a lot of heavy hitters. Now, in this lawsuit, Justin Baldoni is alleging that they never really worked specifically with her. They actually worked with somebody named Jennifer Abel, who was one of her employees. They allege that she was, quote unquote, busier with the bigger celebrities, whereas Justin Baldoni, still kind of earning his stripes, he's alleging that they didn't get a lot of attention from Stephanie Jones. Now, last year, Stephanie Jones was getting some really bad PR from Business Insider, basically saying that she had some really toxic workplace environment. And so they released an article. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's team had a big falling out with her. So then that massive client ended up dropping out of Stephanie Jones' PR. And so he's alleging, because of all of this and all of the turmoil that she was experiencing in her professional life, she then started trying to insert herself into the work that Jennifer Abel and Justin Baldoni were already doing when some of the PR stuff was starting to happen in the news against Justin Baldoni. And he's like, whoa, like, you're coming in and like starting to mess some stuff up. Like, we kind of had this handled. You haven't been a part of any of this. And now that you're losing all these clients, you are trying to look like you've come in to swoop in and save the day. So apparently what happens behind the scenes is that Stephanie Jones ends up, calling Jennifer Abel at like all hours of the night, kind of being in a frenzy and very erratic. And Jennifer Abel's like, this is insane. And then there was some stuff that happened with Justin Baldoni's team. We need to part ways. So they end up firing Stephanie Jones. Because of this, Stephanie Jones ends up taking custody of Jennifer Abel's phone, which had her personal phone number attached to it. She's allegedly had this phone number since high school. So think of like that number that you've had for the last 20 years. That's your phone number. So Jennifer's like, fine, you can take my phone, but please just give me my phone number back, because without that phone number, I don't have access to my bank accounts, to the ability to pay my mortgage, all of that, because all those text messages are going to get sent to your phone. So allegedly, she doesn't give her the phone number back for like another month. She's holding her phone hostage. And this is why this is important. Stephanie Jones ends up being a part of the lawsuit with Blake Lively against Justin Baldoni.
His own former PR person.
His own former PR person, who they are alleging actually even recommended they do a PR smear campaign against Blake Lively. So then all of that happens, allegedly. And then she, like Benedict Arnold's them, goes to Blake Lively's camp, takes the phone from Jennifer Abel, who is still working with Justin Baldoni and who had worked with him with all of this PR stuff, and says, here's all these text messages. You can now use this against him in the
She's
court of law.
She's a turncoat.
She's a turncoat, allegedly.
I am super curious. We used to have somebody come on with us that had some insight into this whole thing. I just didn't think she was real great on the radio. But I really wish that there was... I think this is just an example of what goes on in Los Angeles on a much larger, this is the largest, right? I think this is happening every day in Los Angeles between publicists and this person trying to ruin that person and this person trying to, it's no different than Washington, D.C.
It's totally, I think it is the biggest case of all of it. And I hope it really like changes the PR tactics that people use, because I think people are really getting a bad taste in their mouth looking at celebrities thinking, oh my gosh, like how have my opinions been skewed based off of the malicious work behind the scenes? And to an extent, I think some of it is defense. Like when you're a public person and your business is your reputation, like sometimes you do need PR, you need to do need to play defense. But this is some nasty work if it's all true. So I'm actually going to finally reveal what Blake Lively's camp is saying in response to this lawsuit.
So we do have a response to the $400 million lawsuit.
We do have a response. I will read it to you on your next eBuzz on The Bert Show. This has been information soup, I am recognizing, because Justin Baldoni sued Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds for $400 million for defamation and extortion. And there's a lot of information. You need to go back and listen to the podcast if you want to try and get like the 15-minute version. But long story short is Justin Baldoni is saying, despite the fact that she sued him for sexual harassment, he says a lot of the claims that she's making are actually on camera from when they were filming. So regardless of who you want to believe, at some point we're going to get to see a lot of this stuff play out. There's also a fired publicist from his camp that allegedly took his current publicist's phone to Blake Lively's camp in order to make this all happen. So those are kind of the two biggest takeaways, apart from the weird Mother of Dragons comment that she had. So now that this is all public information and the TikTok attorneys and people like me have read through the 179-page lawsuit, her camp has come out with a statement. Are you ready for what Blake Lively is responding to, or how Blake Lively is responding to this whole thing?
So this is not like her words. This is not Ryan Reynolds' words. This is
a statement.
The statement from her people.
Yes.
Which I'm sure was run through her.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
of
100%.
course. They have signed off on this said statement.
So the statement reads, this latest lawsuit from Justin Baldoni, Wayfarer Studios, and its associates is another chapter in the abuser playbook. This is an age-old story. A woman speaks up with concrete evidence of sexual harassment and retaliation, and the abuser attempts to turn the tables on the victim. This is what experts call DARVO: deny, attack, reverse, victim, offender. Wayfarer has opted to use the resources of its billionaire co-founder to issue media statements, launch meritless lawsuits, and threaten litigation to overwhelm the public's ability to understand that what they're doing is retaliation against sexual harassment allegations. They are trying to shift the narrative to Miss Lively by falsely claiming that she seized creative control and alienated the cast from Mr. Baldoni. The evidence will show that the cast and others had their own negative experiences with Mr. Baldoni and Wayfarer. The evidence will also show that Sony asked Miss Lively to oversee Sony's cut of the film, which they then selected for distribution and was a resounding success. Their response to sexual harassment allegations: she wanted it, it's her fault. Their justification for why this happened to her: look what she was wearing. In short, while the victim focuses on the abuse, the abuser focuses on the victim. The strategy of attacking the woman is desperate. It does not refute the evidence in Miss Lively's complaint, and it will fail.
So I do feel, and it has been hard not to be swayed every time something comes out and it's like, oh, I'm on his side. Oh, I'm on her side. Oh, this is one of those things that we do as hard as it is for people to do, and they don't have patience and they can't just like sit and wait for everything to come out. That is very difficult to do in the court of public opinion. If after everything is said and done, if it does end up siding with Justin Baldoni, like he has the evidence, he has the videos, he has the text, he has the emails, he has the whatever. If that comes to light, that he's the one that's going to be vindicated in this, that statement right there is a slap in the face to every domestic violence, to every victim of domestic violence. If that's how this plays out. So I hope for their sake, the stance they're taking right now, and they're using the domestic violence platform to prove that Blake is the one who's in the right here. I hope for their sake they are right. Otherwise, you've literally I feel like you've spat in the face of domestic violence victims.
And future domestic violence victims, if it's true.
Yeah, I mean, from start to finish. And to your point, this I do think adds a lot of credence. Like if they're going to this extent, it will make them look terrible if it comes out that any of this was a lie whatsoever. Because from his lawsuit, with him claiming that she didn't read the book, she didn't want to meet with the organization that was supposed to get proceeds from the film, it makes her look so far from tone deaf, it makes her almost look like a villain.
Yeah, just from a business standpoint in Hollywood, the collateral damage here is really going to be each other. They are both radioactive in Hollywood. Nobody's going to want to do anything with either one of them for a while. No matter who's right, who's wrong, who wins $400 million, who doesn't. People are just going to be totally and completely hands off. Now you're protecting reputations.
Yeah, and to be fair, we all have agreed. We think both camps have been in the wrong. I don't think Justin Baldoni is completely innocent. I don't think Blake Lively is completely innocent. I think both camps have done things that are in the wrong. It's just going to be interesting to see how this plays out, to see who is most wrong.
It's a messy situation. And I think there's a lot of gray area, which makes it hard to feel like you're fully on one person's side or the other. I just have to say, I really can't wait to see this play out in court. I got to be honest with you. Like, I can't wait to see more evidence. I want to actually see footage of some of the stuff that went down. I am ready for this to play out, mostly so we can get a verdict and stop talking about it.
Do you think this is going to have implications on standards and PR in Hollywood?
I would think it'll be examined. Yeah. I think it would be examined a lot closer for sure.
Yeah, let's see what happens. But for more stories, head to the Bert Show podcast on your favorite listening platform.
The Bert Show.